Hi, this is the pre-job briefing for week number 5 controls. We've noticed in our plant that we have many valves that we can just open and close. So they either have an on or an off, open or closed. These are all manual valves. So with one click we either fully open or fully close. Now, we have several other valves that either are going to be able to be operated automatically, or else operate it within a range, so 0 to 100%. We're going to explore that today. Okay, so first thing that we may see is that we have some devices, either valves or other components, that we can manually input their value. So if we see a box like this, what it's indicating is that this device, in this case a motor, is operating at 30% of its normal speed. And we also may see those things attached to valves. So if we have a valve that we want to open to 50%, we could go ahead and click on this value, and we could change it. So say I wanted that motor to operate not at 30% but 35%, and I would type in 35. And really important, I have to hit enter for it to acknowledge the change. And now the change has been accepted, and we can see we have some changes to our system in terms of flow. We also have other controllers here, which instead of just taking a manual input, also have the capability to automatically control our process. Okay. So if we see a box like this, we can do two things with it. First thing we can do is, just like when we adjusted this device here, we could also manually force it to some output. So for instance, this controller is adjusting the position of this valve, and if I wanted that valve to be open to 30%, I could manually force that valve to be open at 30%. And I could adjust that to 30, or I could adjust that to 20. I could fully close off that valve. I have the full spectrum of 0 to 100%. Ensure every time that you've hit that valve that you hit enter so that it acknowledges that change. So that's how we can adjust these manually, and sometimes we may want to make changes to our system manually. However, sometimes we also may want our system or our valve to operate automatically. So I'm going to put this guy into auto. Now auto, I have this value here. This value 58 in this case represents the target or my set point for my process. And what it's reading, I see the arrow coming in, so it's reading the temperature in this system, and it's going to adjust the output, which is this valve, in order to try to meet my set point, 58. Now I could adjust that set point, so maybe I wanted it to be hotter, 61 degrees. And we can see that my valve position is automatically changing so that I try to hit my target. I could return it back to my set point that I found it, and I have again changes to my valve. So we can continually adjust any of these controllers to try to meet an output, or else we can always take manual control if we want this valve to be in a certain position. And again, we have full range, 0 to 100% for this valve position, or whatever this controller is controlling. So sometimes valves, sometimes other things. So your job today is, I have a number of tasks for you to complete relating to controls. So you're going to have some instructions about controls that you're going to modify, controls that you're going to change, and make sure we can interpret those instructions and do the right action with the controls. Final reminder, always make sure after you've entered in your value, so if I put in 58 or 58.7, it doesn't acknowledge that change until we hit the enter key. And after we hit the enter key, then it's live. And you should see some pop-ups come up once you have completed your task, as I have described to you. Best of luck, and I'll walk through and check in on you as you progress through the activity.